Bonsoir and welcome to the penultimate race of our championship. Season 23 here at Apex Online Racing, and round 12 brings us to the beautiful Ile de Notre Dame, right in the middle of the St. Lawrence River here in scenic Montreal. During the week though, a bit of a shake-up happened in the steward's office, so let's take a look at how it's affected the results. Crew 6 taking the race lead after the first safety car as the rain was easing off, and bearing it out on the mediums for the rest of the race. Held off a late charge from the Borner on the softs, who scores their first points of the championship, and what a haul it was. 18 points to their name. Jan Fehler started in third and stayed in third throughout. F1 Racer though, qualifying in 8th, managing to climb up to podium position, keeping their head while a bunch of crashes and DNFs happened ahead of them. Matty making a late move up into 5th after Ace and Spearworth made mistakes in the closing laps. Their teammate R-Mate, however, finishing 6th on track, but here is where the big shake-up comes in. Got a 10-second time penalty slapped on them by the stewards for losing control of their car and making contact with Sky Kartoffel, which spanned the Alfa Romeo into the wall. So after a late safety car, everyone was so far bunched up that R-Mate drops out of the points. Less than 10 seconds in the entire top 10. So reserve driver Davis moves up to 6th, Galaxy into 7th, Malkian in 8th, Carlos in 9th, and the aforementioned Sky Kartoffel rounding off our points finishers. So let's see what that does to the standings, and we're going to do things a little bit differently this time. We're going to start from the bottom and work up. It's great to see that Sky Kartoffel gets their first point of the season. Carlos starts to claw closer to Garrett. Davis keeps solid in 16th as the Borner rockets 12 places with not only their first points but their first podium of the season. Malkian moves within 1 point of Rivershan and moving towards the top of the table now. We can see that Galaxy pulls away from R-Mate within 2 points of the 8th place Persegili. Kev Genetics finishes staying where they are after their AI-controlled car unfortunately got disqualified. Crew 6 finishing their medal set, jumping 2 places and gaining on Matty, both of which are making serious ground on Maestro Hoffy, who crashed out due to an equipment failure. Their brake pedals weren't working, unfortunately. Lucas unable to finish, which means F1 Racer pulls further ahead. But it's still a 20-point gap to Jan Fehler, who sits on top of the league table and could take home the championship tonight, as long as they get 6 more points than F1 Racer at Montreal. Over in the Constructors, it's very interesting over there, as you briefly saw. Tight between the top 2, just 3 points separating Haas from McLaren now. Then it's only 18 points back to Red Bull. Ferrari, though, not far behind after jumping 4 points clear of AlphaTauri. Then it's another 10 back to Aston Martin, who have categorically shoved the Mercedes team out of 6th. 15 points clear now, and then it's a 44-point gap to Alfa Romeo, but they had best be watching their backs as the Williams team may just come blasting through, closing that gap to just 9 points. And here is where the championship may be won or lost. The circuit Gilles Villeneuve, 35 laps through these long straights, 3 of which are DRS assisted, with drivers reaching speeds of up to 340 kilometers per hour, particularly into the infamous Wall of Champions, which is going to take serious discipline to get through unscathed throughout the race. Also keep a close eye on that hairpin L'Épingle turn 10, with some drivers trying to get a cheeky overtake up the inside before speeding off into the distance through the back-to-back DRS zones through Casino Straight and home. Safe to say it's going to be a wild one out there today, with the majority of the lap taken at full throttle, but some close walls wanting to chew any unwary drivers if they make any mistakes. Can our drivers keep their cool tonight? Will Fehler take the championship? Here and now. Let's head on down to the track where it all begins. with qualifying. 18 minutes for our drivers to try and put in their best lap time. As always, they're going to start with 3 softs and a medium. And then for the race, they'll get given an extra medium and a hard, one of which they must use at some point during that race. We're expecting to see soft, medium strategies here, but as we've seen all too often, anything can change as we head on down to the track. As we head on down to the track. Okay, that button has come undone. That's fine. Let's head on down to the track now. Slight technical difficulties here in the box. And there we see it. 18 minutes on the clock. Our first drivers getting their setups ready before they leave the garage. We can see we've got a grid of 15 drivers tonight. Some substitutions out there. We have... oh, Dominic is in the Alpine. We've got Davis in the Alpine. Kev Genetics is out there, as is Rivershan. We actually don't have as many substitutions as I thought we did. The only reserve driver out there tonight that I can see being Davis in the Alpine. So a lot of our drivers starting their outlap here. Galaxy looking to go out on the mediums by the look of it. So Dominic is going to be first across the line with what looks like HD Storm right behind them. Kev Genetics also opting for the mediums as well. Possibly looking to go long here. Or just get a feel for the track. It does look quite hazy out there. Let's ride on board with Dominic as they go for their first full lap. And it's wide into turn 1 and 2. Making sure not to clip that inside curb because that will send you spinning. A very, as I said, very fast lap round here. Majority of it taken at full throttle. Trying to take it straight through as many of those curbs as possible, making sure that you're not turning the car as you do so. Otherwise, you will spin out. Those curbs are unfortunately notorious for causing drivers issues. As we come up, and Dominic has unfortunately invalidated their lap, so let's go to HD Storm to follow along as they go into the hairpin, hard on the brake. Very tight around the hairpin. Very wide exit. Down the casino straight as we see some yellow flags flashing. Dominic probably prepping for another lap, knowing full well that their first attempt is invalid. Very smooth through the chicane there, and our first time on the board is going to be a 109.9. 109.9. Very good first outing for HD Storm. We're looking low 109s, high 108s here for pole position. As Galaxy puts in the fastest lap on the mediums, it has to be said. An F1 racer goes faster still, a 108.9. There's those high 8s we were talking about. That is the best time of any Sector 3 out there. Who else is currently out on a lap? Jan Fehler, current championship leader. F1 Racers championship rival. Ooh, little bit of skid out there as Maestro Hoffi goes pole with a 108.8. Baylor comes across the line in a 108.805. 200ths. The difference there. And we know there's more time in that car as we saw them skid through that final chicane there. Through the Wall of Champions chicane. Let's see who else is out there. Crew 6, last time winner on their hot lap. 19.2 through Sector 1, 21.5 through Sector 2. Down the casino straight, through the speed camera, speed trap there. And comes across the line in a 109.1, enough to put them P5. As a lot of our drivers start pulling in and getting ready for their second stint. Volkian now. And Davis on their first laps. Again, coming into that chicane. The Alpine letting them past. Going wide into the Wall of Champions, and going to be a reasonable shot here. 109.7 is enough to put them P10. Going to be interesting to see what Kev Genetics and Galaxy can do if they go... if they decide to go on the softs here. Davis as well. Yet to put in a lap time. We're seeing some yellow flags out there as Kev Genetics. Hold on, my entire map is upside down, which doesn't help. That's better. The Maestro Hoffy, actually. Let's go with... Apologies, my timing screen is actually balked right now. Davis comes across the line in what is... It's a time on the board. Gelbavand with a 124. Times on the board all round, except for Matty, who has yet to set a time. They did do a 109.1 last time round, but not enough. But invalidated, unfortunately, as F1 Racer comes round a 19.1 through Sector 1, 400ths faster than their previous time, and in fact, the only person faster than them through Sector 1 right now is the Borner. Let's see what Sector 2 brings for them. Purple again, fastest of the session, 21.5, as they come into the casino straight now. This looks good. This looks very good. Very promising for F1 Racer here. Need to make sure that they don't mess it up through the Wall of Champions chicane and across the line in a 108.7. Almost a full 10th clear of Jan Fehler. Is Davis going for another go? Doesn't look like it. Let's go with HD Storm, who is slowing down. Rivershan has invalidated. Matty is on their first attempt. Let's stick with them for a bit. Very tight. Through Concord. Flirting with the stewards' flags there over those curbs. And this is the chicane that catches a lot of people out. Very nice line through there. Up to the hairpin, L'Épingle. Matty putting in good representative times here. Certainly going to see them move up the board because, well, let's be honest, they can't be any lower. Hoffy going out on the mediums. Galaxy out on the softs, looking to improve. As Matty comes across the line, Tier 2 champion last season in a 109.1. It's 8th place for them at the moment. Let's take a look at Maestro Hoffy, who is actually ahead of their previous lap on the mediums. The Borner is also one to watch as well. And Maestro Hoffy goes P2 on the mediums, just 300ths shy of pole. The Borner saying nay nay fluff fluff. 108.6, a full, almost a full 100th clear. Let's see if Failer has a response. Through the wall of champion chicane. Flirting very tightly with the wall there, but across the line in a 108.4. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe we are going to see low 108s tonight. That does prove me wrong. So currently Failer leading the pack. Let's see if anybody else has got a response. It looks like Crucix is probably pulling in. They are indeed slowing down. Let's go with Molkian. Who is 1,500ths faster through their first sector. 2/10 off the pace. A little bit of grass clipping out of that chicane. It's going to cost them, but they are improving by about 3/10. They can keep this up. They may be looking at P11, maybe P10 here. See, we've got fans of Crucix in the crowd tonight. See what Molkian can make of the final chicane. No risks, but does bump the wall on the way out there. Probably not going to damage them this lap, but it is going to mean they could theoretically be disadvantaged for the rest of the session. HD Storm coming out for, well, what will probably be their final attempt here. Unless they can really quickly get it back in the garage. Now we see Maestro Hoffy actually on the setting their best time on the mediums, showing that mediums do have pace out there. They'll be starting on those if this continues. But of course there is that huge gap up the top as HD Storm starts to make their way through the chicanes here. Oh, and just takes a little bit too much curb there, and the stewards don't like that. And that's the lap invalidated. If I were HD Storm right here, I'd pull in, get a new set on, get ready for the mad rush that is the final stint. Molkian looks like they're pulling into the pit. Let's see what's happening. I think everybody's prepping for their final stints here. Rivershan is going to be the first one out, with HD Storm behind, warming up those tyres nicely. .109.8 to beat for Rivershan. That HD Storm opting to stay out and going again. Okay. They will be throwing away any chance they have of getting another stint in. Rivershan improving by 0.17 of a second through Sector 1. DRS wide open as they come through the second straight here. That's all about the hairpin. Improving by 0.2. Kev Genetics is in fact 2 and a bit tenths clear, so still need to make some time here. Coming into the final chicane. Maybe took a little bit too much of it there. Stewards were fine with it though, as they come across the line in a 109.4. They move ahead of their teammate. Let's head on over to F1 Racer, our championship contender tonight. Any extra starting space on the grid is really going to help here. But Failer is 0.3 clear, 2.5 clear, I should say. Doesn't look like they're improving by that much. Really got to start questioning themselves. Where is that extra time coming from? Oh, little squirrely out of the chicane there. And doesn't improve. It costs them 0.7. Taking that chicane a little bit too aggressively. They're not going to have time to come in, so they're going to have to make the best of it. Do another cooldown lap, and come around again in the closing stages. Gelbavand here improving by 2 whole tenths, which is the distance between them and Crucix right now. Also out and about, we have Maestro Hoffy, who is making improvements. F1 Racer, though, I hold it back. A very speedy Sector 1. Jan Failer, 18.9 through Sector 1, breaches the 19-second mark as F1 Racer comes across the line for what will probably be the final time here and improves 108.5. As Dominic retires from the session. Failer, though, on an absolute blinder of a lap here. 21.4 through Sector 2. Kind of breaking even there, but that Sector 1 is going to see them improve even further as the steward gets ready to put the checkered flag out, and in fact doesn't improve their Sector 3, costing them there. Gelbavand on a cooldown lap, F1 Racer on a cooldown lap. Let's look at the Borna. Again, breaking the 19-second mark through Sector 1 as the checkered flag comes down. HD Storm finishing in 15th. Davis currently in 10th. Other drivers looking to overtake them. It looks like Galaxy is going to be next across the line. Slight improvement here. Moves up to 8th. The Red Bull pulling in. I believe that is the Borna pulling in as well. As we have the 2 Aston Martins coming across now. And I picked the wrong one as Crucix comes across the line in a 108.9. Doesn't improve. The Alpha Tauri, a 109.1. It's enough to move them up a position. Maestro Hoffy about to put a time in here. 106, 107, 108, 109.6. Not enough. Armate, a 109.0 moves them up to 9th. And I think that's all they wrote as Kev Genetics pulls into the pits. So, your grid as it stands, Jan Failer and Gelbavand make your front row. F1 Racer and the Borna in your second row. 5th, Maestro Hoffy, Kev Genetics, right alongside them. Then it's Crew 6, Galaxy, the other Haas driver, in 8th. Then it's Armate and Davis rounding out our drivers on their fixed compounds. Matty and Dominic in 11 and 12. Mulkian and Rivershan 13th and 14th. And rounding out our grid, HD Storm in the McLaren. Few invalidated lap times. This is not really going to mean much to the stewards. So, the grid is ready. .35 laps. And Failer is on pole. F1 Racer currently in 3rd. If it stays like that through the entire race, Failer will take the championship tonight. However, we've seen it all too often. Anything can change as we head on down to the track and prepare for the race. Looks like it's fairly clear out there today, so no threat of rain. As our drivers finalise their strategies. Does look like soft medium is going to be the way to go. There's the countdown. We'll see what our back 5 have opted for in a few seconds. But it is a very fast track round here, as I was saying. More than about 60% of the lap is flat out. Some even say 2/3 of the lap. So you're going to be burning through that fuel. A lot of fuel on board to start with. We get ready for our formation lap here. There you can see the grid. Non-Failer up in 1st. Gelbervand in 2nd. No problem with our timing screen. They have to do some editing on the fly here as we get ready to go green. So, drivers forming up on the grid. 15 of them tonight. Go. 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights. Dominic getting a drive-through penalty for letting off the clutch a little bit too early, which is going to be very costly in the early stages of the race. So Fela leading the pack. F1 Racer looking to get up the outside of Gelbevand, or just hold on to position here. A lot of chopping and changing as Dominic falls back, as does Galaxy right to the back here. As their front wing is gone. How did that happen? Front wing completely gone. Chance of rain next to none from our weather centre. I have no idea what happened there. Let's head back towards the front where the Borna is getting a little bit spicy with F1 Racer there. And first time round, Fela. A dominant lead by over a second as Dominic pulls into the pit lane and gets 5 seconds for their trouble. As they try and remove that drive-through penalty. That is severely bad luck. Let's stick with the Borna, who is starting to, there we go. Oh, and Crucix is round. Crucix is round. Galaxy coming out of the pits here. Someone else who's making up some real ground. HD Storm up 5 places. Davis up 1. Arme up 2. Matty up 3. As Davis and HD Storm going up the inside. Davis actually losing a lot of time there. Can't quite see why they've dropped to 11th. Looking to fight with the AlphaTauri. Nope, just tucks in neatly behind, noticing the McLaren, Mercedes over their shoulders. Oh, taking it wide and getting the 10th position. Oh, fighting for it though. They're going to have the outside, but the inside for the second. And Olkian is just ahead. Oh, this is going to be tight between these three, especially with DRS coming into play. Rivershan into 11th now. Davis falling back to 12th. HD Storm firmly in 9th position. Let's head up towards the front where the Borna has got F1 Racer in their sights. Just 2 tenths from them. Maestro Hoffy gaining time though. And in fact, the entire field accordioning out over that 3rd lap. Current pace is about a 1:11, 1:12. So here we see the Borna. As F1 Racer goes into 2nd. They know that if Fela wins tonight, if Fela crosses the line first, That's it. That's the championship race over as Gelbevand and the Border fight it out in turn 1. Maestro Hoffy dropping, staying in 5th. Now the chase is on. Gelbevand falling back quite considerably. An F1 racer has got it all to do here. No DRS, 1.4 seconds to make up. 30 laps to do it in. Meanwhile, at the back, Dominic and Galaxy have got clean air and can make the most of it. But the DRS is so powerful here. Especially out of that hairpin. 2 straights making up the entire length of the course. As Molkian manages to make the pass on HD Storm very clean through the chicane and comfortably into 9th place. So Failer out in front, 1.5 seconds back to F1 racer. Maestro Hoffy is one to watch here as well. We saw how they were performing in qualifying. Very effective on those mediums. The only driver on track... Sorry, several drivers on track on the mediums. We've got Maestro Hoffy, Matty, HD Storm, Molky and Vivashan. Both Dominic and Galaxy changing to the mediums during their respective pit stops. Sticking with the ball. Oh, and he's round! He's overcooked it! And that has cost him a lot of time. Especially going into DRS here. In fact, Molkian's got past. He's now struggling to stay within the points as HD Storm and HD Storm storms past Molkian because Molkian didn't have DRS there. That's an end plate. That's a collision right there. Whose end plate is it? It's the Border. The Border losing considerable time and just doesn't have the grip to get round that corner and drops to 12th in a matter of moments. Which clears the path for Maestro Hoffy to Gelbevand here. Also, the Border burning their tyres up, by the way. With all those spins, I think they're out of optimum range now. Get a good look at Maestro Hoffy there. See if they can perform it here. To actually head back to 9th, where Molkian is looking to get up the inside of HD Storm. Rivershan is also diving for it, and in fact makes the double pass. Up the inside, into the chicane. That is textbook driving there from Rivershan. Molkian dropping into 11th as Davis gets through as well. And the Border is into the pits. Up towards the front, Gelbevand. Gaining some time here. Maestro Hoffy is managing to stay in tow. Kev Genetics, though, oh, is just on the edge. Just on the edge of DRS. Coming into detection. Doesn't have it. Oh, he might. He might have chosen to brake late. Compromised the hairpin to get DRS down 2 straights. Maestro Hoffy here. Bite on the rear end of Gelbevand. Is on the harder compound, so what they do now can only improve later in the race. Decides to stick in position. Davis making the pass on HD Storm there. And pulls into the pits. what looks like an uncharacterful pit stop. No wing change, but change of tyres. Those tyres wearing out a lot more than expected as Crew 6 sets the fastest lap of the session on the mediums. Up towards the front now, and it's sights on Maestro Hoffy. F1 Racer has it all to do over the next 25 and a bit laps. And that time is tumbling as they try to get past Gelbervan. Gelbervan is held up by F1 Racer directly in front of them, who's pulling into the pits. Maybe it is just this early for the softs to go to mediums. But now Maestro Hoffy knows everyone else in front of them gonna need to stop. Dominic gets a 3-second time penalty. And out to 8. Crew 6 setting the fastest lap again as Gelbervan comes out in 9th. Let's just see what the stop situation is here. F1 Racer potentially looking to make the undercut here. And as you can see, 9-lap-old softs for R-Mate, Kev Genetics and Failer. We're expecting them to pit sometime soon. As Failer pulls into the pits, now this is going to be telling. How much time is F1 Racer going to have gained from the undercut? Maestro Hoffy goes provisional pole. Go to F1 Racer and see what the gap is here. You know that we're pretty much right next to each other. Failer pulling out of the pit lane now to your right. And the gap is down to just 5/10. The undercut paying off there for F1 Racer, putting them well within striking distance of their championship rival. As the Borner goes fastest in the session. So, still to pit, we have R-Mate on the softs. And here comes F1 Racer round the outside of HD Storm. And has DRS on Failer down the Casino Straight. Is gaining on them at a rate of knots here. Let's see what that does to the timings. 5/10 the difference. So, still left to pit. Maestro Hoffy, Matty, Rivershan, HD Storm and Dominic. But Dominic is going to have to take that 5-second penalty. Maestro Hoffy well out in front of the rest of the pack. Then it's a large gap to Matty, further back to Rivershan. But currently, having finished their stops, Jan Failer with F1 Racer behind and dropping, I should say. But the thing is, all that time is going to be made up through DRS here. Wing wide open as Failer starts to make time on Rivershan. Down to 4/10. Through the chicane as Kev Genetics makes a pass on HD Storm in the background. Gelbervan also through. HD Storm dropping down the order here on the mediums. 11 laps older. Stays within 5 tenths. Seems to be losing a lot of time through these chicanes, though. Could this be the lap where they do it? Baylor is 12 seconds from the lead driver and gaining. So it is going to be all to do in the closing phases of the race. F1 Racer still 7 tenths back, as DRS. Further back we have Crew 6. Bearing down on Dominic here as Rivershan gets a 5-second penalty. Crew 6 moves smoothly into 9th. Rivershan takes their pit and looks like they're out on a new set of mediums. HD Storm still to pit, and our 2 front runners still to pit as well. Matty 29 with a 3-second penalty to their name. Go back towards the front. Our 2 championship contenders here, just 4 tenths between them as they come into Le Pangle. My French isn't amazing. The hairpin. Turn 10. There's a lot of names for it. DRS wide open once again. 5 tenths to make up in these 2 straights here and make it up. F1 shall. 2 tenths coming through the wall of champions chicane. Matty deciding this is the time to pit. And it looks like the mediums can go long here. 1 stop is possible. Is it advisable? I don't know. But we will soon find out with such a fast track. An F1 racer seems to have dropped off a bit there. They were 2 tenths back. They're now 6 tenths off the pace. They seem to be accordioning a lot on failure. At some point, they need to get past. Not just about pace here, it is also about position. Let's take a look at Crew 6 and our mate who are just coming around the hairpin now. Also, we have Kev Genetics right alongside, takes 4th. And that lead is only going to get more comfortable as they come into the 2nd DRS straight into the home stretch. Crew 6 makes the pass on HD Storm. Moves into 6th. HD Storm, in fact, is losing a lot of time. A lot of positions. Drops 2. And has Matty right behind them. Still to stop as well as Dominic makes their pit stop. Going to take 5 seconds of penalties as well. I think he's pulling out of the pit lane now. Quite understandably far behind the pack. HD Storm trying to cling on to 8th place. Matty gets past though as they go into the chicane. Matty goes over and gives the position back. Did HD Storm leave enough space there? Only the stewards will be able to tell as Galaxy makes a move on the Borner. In fact, the Borner, I believe, is going slowly. It does look like they've got a little bit of wing damage, a little bite out of their end plate there, as HD Storm pulls into the pits and gets a 5-second penalty for their troubles. So, is Hoffy going long here? That's the question. Up towards the front, F1 Racer Staying in tow. Staying in touch. But at this point, the thing is, oh, and the border is retired. They've retired in the pit lane. That's it. That's the race for them. So, currently leading the race is Maestro Hoffy, but they still need to stop. Then we have Jan Fehler, who's done their mandatory pit stop, but may need to do another one at some point during the race. We've got F1 Racer. Right behind championship rival. Now, if this stays as it is right now, Baylor would get 18. F1 Racer would get 12. And that would be, I believe, the championship over. As even if F1 Racer gets 26 points in Brazil, Baylor goes out of the points. Baylor would win on countback. But this is still for the championship here, even if Maestro Hoffy stays out in front for almost the entire race. Let's go and see what our mate is doing. They're looking to make a pass up the... Ooh. Looking to get their nose in. Decided against it. Staying behind Crew 6 for now. Oh, but goes up the inside. Through 1 and 2. And makes what I can only describe as a textbook pass through Virage into 6th. It does mean that they've now got the train behind them of Crew 6 and Matty. Gelbervan 7 seconds up the road. Let's stick with this battle here. If Crew 6 can pull the place back. Is going to have DRS here going down the Casino Straight. Ooh. Bounce the curb a little bit around the hairpin. Very tight line. Maybe had to decelerate more than they should have there. But the DRS is more than going to make up for it. From 7/10 down to 5. Loses a little bit of time through the chicane. And it looks like 4/10 is the magic number for those 2 DRS straights there. Let's see what's happening with Gelbervan and Kev Genetics as Galaxy pulls into the pits once again. For another set of mediums. So here we go. Fehler making a lot of ground on Maestro Hoffy here. Hoffy trying to pull the 1-stop. The only explanation I have here why he's going so long. Everybody else looks to be on a 2-stop strategy. F1 Racer now within 3/10, as you can see in the foreground there as they come around Virage. Slightly older mediums for F1 Racer though. It's a similar story with Kev Genetics and Gelbervan. Kev Genetics on the younger tyre, but only by 1 lap. Let's head back to our train of 3 here. Battle for 6 between R8 Crew 6 and Matty29. Ooh! Wheels come up on the Aston Martin there. Taking a little bit too much curb. Losing them a little bit of traction. Coming round the bend. We've got Matty bearing down on them. And of course, they're going to have DRS from R8 as well. But Matty just seems to... Oh! Busix misjudging the corner there? I don't quite know what happened from their perspective. But they did have to go through the chicane and give up the position. Maybe misjudged the braking distance and Rivershan moves up into 9th. Towards the front, it's still an ongoing slog between Kev Genetics and Gelbavand. F1 Racer is actually losing time here. They've lost about a 10th from last time round. Maestro Hoffy gritting and bearing it as their tyres start to get within puncture territory. Hoffy is opting for the pit. Where are they going to come out? Going to be behind Kev Genetics, going to be behind Gelbavand. Is there enough of a gap to R8 for it? Let's have a look. Leaving the pit lane now, doesn't look like it. But they are still going to be in the points. Quite firmly so with a penaltyless session so far. Busix and Matty ahead of them are going to give them much needed DRS. Rivershan about 5 seconds back. Let's head up to F1 Racer now, who is within 5/10 of the lead of the race. And now this becomes do or die for F1 Racer. HD Storm picking up another 3 seconds of time penalties. Moving Galaxy up into 13th. Sorry. Less than that. 11th. 12th. After penalties have been applied. Here though, is F1 Racer just biding their time till the end? It's difficult to tell as Matty makes a pass on their teammate R8. And it's a train of 4 now because Hoffy's joined in. And Hoffy is on the softer tyre, so is going to be gaining time through all of those corners. It may also take fastest lap here as well with their reverse strategy. HD Storm onto the hards. Up towards the front. The gap is closing a little bit as they come through the hairpin. Just 7/10 now. Getting about a 10th a lap. Have a look at Maestro Hoffy here. Going up the inside around the hairpin. And we'll have DRS. Little wiggle from Crew 6 there. Maybe contact. And maybe due to contact. Maybe just lost the rear. And Maestro Hoffy moves up into 7th as Gelbavand gets a penalty. Kev Genetics also in the pit. It's just for new softs by the look of it. Gelbavand opting for medium, Kev Genetics opting for the softs. The softs will go to the end here by the look of it. So the second stop well underway for our drivers. Now you can see what the penalties are doing. Matty is going to drop quite a few places in fact, and R8 will move up into 3rd position currently. Maestro Hoffy looking to get up the inside of R8 there. But up at the front. This is the big story tonight. F1 Racer versus Baylor. The result of that battle will determine the championship. Will determine if it ends here. Maestro Hoffy now up into 4th, provisional 3rd. And on the softer tyre from everybody else around them. And the newer tyre, to be fair to them. It seems that F1 Racer is just losing a little bit too much time in those chicanes. As Davis drops down the order, what's happened? They're in the pits. Looks like they're going for their second stop onto the softs. Maestro Hoffy making gains on Matty here. Matty is not going to have DRS down this back straight. Basically a sitting duck as Rivershan goes round and is out of the race, and it's a full-blown safety car. This is going to be a saving grace for everybody on aged mediums here. Difficult to see exactly what happened. They just went into the wall. Went into the wall down the straight, lost it, and that's them out of the race. 13 runners remaining. Davis now kicking themselves as Matty, Krusix and R8 all pull into the pits. Gelbavand into the pits for what I believe is a set of softs. Dominic into the pits. Jan Failer and F1 Racer choosing to stay up front. This is going to give Maestro Hoffy a huge advantage here. Going to allow them to make up that gap. Davis moving up to 9th, being past all the cars that are in the pits. Gelbavand looks like they're opting to stay out. Could be mistaken. Keep an eye on it. This is where it could get really interesting. Ooh! Skidding it round out of the chicane there. And it looks like race leaders are into the pit. Maestro Hoffy included. Weirdly. And it is going to be a sprint finish. Of course, this does mean they're going to be significantly down the order. Where are they coming out? They're coming out in 5th at the moment. So they've got R8, Krusix, Matty and Kev Genetics all ahead of them. And of course, they've got penalties to their name. And as we saw last week, penalties can be huge with a late safety car. Speaking of penalties, Galaxy getting 3 seconds there. And HD Storm. Gelbavand getting the upper hand on HD Storm there out of pits. Do we have anybody still on old mediums? No. Gelbavand opting for the later pit stop by the look of it. So, current race lead on 3-lap old softs is Kev Genetics. Then behind them is Matty and Krusix. Both on pretty much fresh softs here. And it's R8. R8 looking to move up into 2nd following penalties, if they can keep in touch. Then it's Jan Failer, our current leader, with F1 Racer directly behind. Maestro Hoffy in 7th. Is back in touch but gave up their advantage for the fresher softs. As the safety car comes in, Kev Genetics holds the starting pistol. Maestro Hoffy getting a time penalty under safety car somehow. And already it's chop and change. As Krusix tries to go up the inside, misjudges it. Drops down to third. HD Storm down to 13th. And oh! Ooh! Significant wing damage for Galbavan, Galaxy and HD Storm there in that 3 wide. No, DRS is not going to be active for this lap and the next. I have a feeling we're going to see a few cars pitting here as well. As Maestro Hoffy moves up to 6th, putting a gap between Failer and F1 Racer. One more lap unassisted. Maestro Hoffy right on the tail of Jan Failer there. Going to be interesting to see what the stewards have to say about the fact that they were issued a penalty under safety car. Galbavan and HD Storm in the pit. Galaxy opting to stay out. So Jan Failer looking behind them at Maestro Hoffy and F1 Racer further back. In front of them is Arme. If they can get an extra position between them, it's going to mean a lot for F1 Racer here. Not just the points, but pushing their championship rival further away. Getting as much distance as possible. F1 Racer... Sorry, Failer going up the inside. Very easy pass for them. Just on the straights, less downforce on the setup as Krusix sets the fastest lap. Currently riding in third, a second back to Jan Failer. And as it stands, this could be the championship here. If it stays like this. Yeah. It could be championship done and dusted. So here we go. 4 laps to go as Jan Failer sets the fastest lap of the race as well. That's going to help them inordinately in the championship. Now F1 Racer has a lot of work to do. The extra position might not just do it here. As we see a yellow flag, it looks like it's Dominic and they're round. Galaxy comes through, meaning Dominic is outside of the points now. Let's head towards the front. Because of course DRS is live. Matty is going to need to get past Kev Genetics here. They've got the softer tyres. They've got the DRS. Can they make anything of it? Down the casino straight. Also you see in the background there Jan Failer. In fourth. Well, in fact, after penalties move up to second. As they try and make a pass around the outside on the Aston Martin of Krusix. It doesn't work though, doesn't pay off. Cheeky. Baylor trying to get a little cheeky round for Raj there. Let's see how F1 Racer is doing in the battle against Maestro Hoffy here. This is not just how Jan Fehler performs, it's also about where F1 Racer finishes as well. As we get ready to go on the last two of our laps. So currently leading the race is Kev Genetics. Maybe Matty is biding their time here. They don't seem to be gaining as much as they should under DRS. Oh, Fehler trying to go up the inside, decides against it. Question becomes, what are you fighting for here, Fehler? As Maestro Hoffy loses a bunch of positions there. Don't quite know what happened. Maybe they went a little bit off circuit. They have got wing damage. But that's seen them down the order, which means F1 Racer is up into 6th. Now just one car stands between him and Jan Fehler. So here we go. About to start the final lap of the race. Let's just take a look at what the actual gap is from the leader, because this is where the penalties are going to come into play as well. People moving up and down the order. Dominic is going to lose quite a few positions there as well. Kev Genetics now down in second from Matty 29 after a pass on track. Thing is, Jan Fehler is going to overtake both Matty and Krusix with those penalties, which means our mate is going to be the only one between them and F1 Racer. As Maestro Hoffy moves further down the order. Of course, at this late stage of the race, a pit stop is ridiculous as Matty gets another 3 seconds of penalties. That is huge. Oh, and F1 Racer tries to make a cheeky move around the outside. Doesn't work, and Davis gets a nose in. Ooh. Okay, here we go. Final time through the wall of champions. Matty 29 is going to take the lead on circuit as F1 Racer gets a 3-second time penalty, and that, I believe, is that. F1 Racer finishing in 6th, Fehler finishing in 2nd. Malkian takes 7th after Davis's time penalties. Maestro Hoffy gets a penalty for themselves, takes 9th. Dominic doesn't actually finish in 10th, finishes in 11th because Galaxy takes it. And then Gelbavand coming across the line in 12th, taking 11th and crashing into the back of the pile up there. HD Storm will cross the line and take their 13th position. But I think there is a little bit of the drivers are a bit unsettled as they're getting out the cars. And I think there may be a steward's inquiry after the race. But there are your results. Kev Genetics taking the win. Failer with the fastest lap as well is going to get that bonus point. That's 19 points. Going to put them well ahead of F1 Racer and will give them the championship. Also out there we have our mate in third, Crew 6 in fourth. After that 3-second penalty, moves them from second all the way down. Then Matty 29, 6 seconds of penalties pushing them further down the order as well. And that is the race. That is our action tonight. Let's see if we can get a hold of anyone for an interview. For a few words about what happened out there. No doubt some people will have some words to say. But what a race! And I think that's Failer winning the championship there, unless something happens in the steward's office. Even if F1 Racer were to move up into third, as a result of removal of penalties and penalties applied to other drivers, there's still a 4-point gap there. F1 Racer, sorry, Failer taking 19 points from today's race. Ooh, and what a race it was. So while we wait for our drivers to pull off, let's see what is going on with these standings then. Tell you there are some huge changes coming your way. Some huge changes. But it does look like Jan Failer has taken the title. I didn't say anything until we leave the steward's office. But that does look like the case. While we get these standings prepared for you, just want to say thank you all for coming tonight. Thank you all for watching this momentous event with us. I believe we do have at least one interview lined up. And of course, who other than our Season 23 AOR F1 champion. Season 23 AOR F1 champion.
Ah, yes, thank you.
Jan Failer. What a race out there tonight. I mean, I don't quite know what to make of it from up here. Certainly seemed like it was all for a lot of it for you. It was all about the race between you and F1 Racer. How was it down on track?
It was super intense. Obviously, like couldn't have been a better script up until we had the safety car that it's F1 racer and myself fighting for the win. And I think our pace was just so strong. We were clear of everybody basically. I don't know where Maestro Hoffi would have caught up to with the fresh softs. Obviously, he would have been a lot quicker at that point. I don't know if that strategy would have paid off. But other than that, I think, yeah, that was just outstanding to watch probably from the outside. Even though there was not much like wheel-to-wheel racing going on, because obviously F1 racer was just waiting to fill his ERS and then probably go for it on the final lap, so I don't have a chance to counter it. But up until that point, I was just, well, I wanted to send the DRS rule to the devil and get rid of it immediately during that race and go like, okay, DRS is not a thing anymore. You can just, you know, go ahead without it.
Well, you got very clear. You got incredibly clear of everybody else very early on in the race, and then of course, when the pit strategy came into play, tucked nicely into the middle of the pack. So it sounded like you had the pace out there. What was going through your head when the safety car came out?
I thought there's no drama, because I knew that fresh tires are definitely OP compared to old ones, especially considering our tires were like almost 20 laps old at that point. So I thought, okay, it's safety car, it's fine. We're gonna get past the pit exit, and then we just cruise around in that delta and pit, and everything's fine. But then I realized that the pit exit is quite a quick one here, and the safety car would just, you know, get out right in front of us. So if we were to pit, we would lose track position to, well, I had no idea how many people at that point. And then obviously there was the question: do we pit after they have caught up, like 3 or 4 drivers, what they were, or not? Because obviously, if I'm wrong for some reason and I pit and F1 racer doesn't, and he manages to stay ahead, also in mind that people could have time penalties. So even if they get past him, and he would just, you know, stick it in the DRS window again, and then win the race in the end through time penalties of others, and I'm at the back because I pitted, well, that wouldn't have been very helpful. So I thought, okay, you know what, I'm going to pit as well, and then we'll see what comes out. And I guess that was the absolutely correct decision.
Well, it's been 12 races. We've got 1 to go. Obviously, for you, the pressure's off. The championship is firmly in your hands. All that's left to go is ceremony, I suppose, at Interlagos next week. Looking back on the season, where do you think, like, what was the pivotal moment in you winning the championship this?
There's been, well, obviously the couple wins that I had. It hasn't been many. I think Lucas even has more wins this season than I have. Not quite sure. I'm trying to check it out at the moment.
You've got a lot of seconds. You've got You've got as many seconds as Lucas has first, to be fair to you. But you've...
Yeah.
So for me, I think it's your consistency. You have never failed to bring home points in this season.
Very true.
Your lowest finish is 10th. You've never DNF'd. It's been consistent driving, and even when all seems to go to hell and you're further down the order, you still somehow manage to bring it back to within the points. How do you, when things are starting to go wrong, like, how do you manage to keep in that frame of mind and keep that calm and keep that cool?
I'm glad that it seems that way, but it truly is not the way.
Is it just constant panic?
Yeah, well, not panic, but just anger, pure anger. Like, why do I have this bad luck right now? And looking at Australia, for example, obviously I realized that after I got the wing damage and people started to pass me, you know, when they got past me one by one, I realized, okay, they all have time penalties, and some of them actually have quite many of them. So if I somehow manage to bring this home without a pit stop, I could still get points here, or at least 1. So let's just, you know, what happened. You can't obviously influence that. It doesn't make sense to just rage on and rage quit and do whatever. Just head down and keep on going, keep on pushing, and that saved me that point. Without which I don't think it would be safe right now. I'm not sure. Well, depends on whether F1 Racer would get his penalty removed or not. But as it stands, even if he does, I'm still safe, so that's good.
Well, I mean, your fastest lap point this race certainly puts it, I believe, beyond contention.
Yeah, that's the one exactly. Which was also I was thinking of that when I set the purple sector in that lap. The first sector was purple, and then the second was green sector. And when I was on that long DRS straight, all of a sudden I realized, okay, hang on, what about the fastest lap actually? You know, when we start fighting now, when I realized Kev was not really going fast at the front. Well, he was obviously pushing ERS everywhere because he wanted to get rid of DRS from people behind. But there would have been a point in the race, quite, closely coming, where we were just stuck in the train and can't really go fast and go fastest laps. So that was my only chance. So I just on both of the straights, I just pressed the overtake button and hope that was enough for the fastest lap, and it was. So that definitely helped. Other than that, I think, to answer your question, as you asked earlier, what was the pill? Well, I guess, as you said, over the season, I guess the consistency I had in terms of pace was, at least in the race, was the deciding factor. Even though I guess overall my race pace was not really that much quicker than F1 races, but I guess combining the qualifying results that I had, even though I only had 2 pole positions up at this point, so it hasn't been as good as the previous season even. But combining it all, I guess it was just about enough to wrap it up with one race to go.
Well, there is one race to go, and I'm now not going to talk to you as Jan Fehler, champion driver of season 23 of AOR. I'm now going to talk to you as Jan Fehler, coordinator of this league. To you, I mean, looking at the leaderboard now, looking at the driver standings, almost every racer who's had a permanent seat has scored points in this league. Is that something you were kind of setting out to do at the start, to make it that competitive? Is that something that is that a shock to you?
To a certain extent, I guess, because there are some drivers, and I think Dominic even hasn't scored points yet for some reason. Obviously, he had a couple DNFs and the DNSs as well, but I think he's the only permanent driver not scoring yet.
Oh yes, I forgot about that.
He has come close quite a couple times. So I guess it kind of surprises me, but also I think I can't particularly remember a season where where we had where we didn't have every permanent driver at least score 1 point. But considering the gap that we have between the top, I don't know how many, let's just say top 6, 7, I guess, when everybody's there in the race, compared to the lower end of the field, it wasn't obvious that they would score points at some point during the season. Because unfortunately we do have that gap in Split 1 at the moment. And there's obviously nothing we can do about it. Because we can just pick the fastest drivers, the most consistent drivers that sign up, and then put them in Split 1, and there we go. But I'm very, very happy that we had such a competitive midfield as well. Not only at the front, the front end, but also the midfield was very, very competitive for points. Because obviously there's a lot happening during the races, a lot of DNFs, a lot of safety car interferences and whatnot. So that always plays a part, but that's racing. So it's good to see that we see almost everyone score points, and hopefully Dominic can score some points in Brazil in the final one as well.
Hopefully we see Dominic crossing the line in the top 10 at Interlagos next week. Jan Fehler, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. I'm certain that Fizzy and Benny will probably want to talk to you next week as well. But congratulations on the championship win. Congratulations on the fastest lap and the second place in tonight's race. And an amazing season all round for you.
Thank you. Let's wrap it up next week then, this season.
Yeah. Next week we are at Interlagos, but before we head there, let's take a look at what is going on with those standings, shall we? Let's see how they look after that race there. So from the bottom we have HD Storm. Unfortunately not making the points tonight. The Borner, though, crashing out. Davis bringing home points for, I believe, the third race in a row, moving them 2 points clear. Malkian also bringing home points as well. Unfortunately, Rivershan crashing out in the earlier stages of the race, so they are now 5 points clear of Rivershan. Gelbavand finished just outside the points in 11th after several stops tonight. In fact, 5 pit stops, 6 sets of tyres he managed to get through, but still finishing in 11th after all that, has to be said, is certainly good going. Let's look at our the top of our board now. Galaxy comes home with a point. Unfortunately, it's not enough to see off R8, who took a podium. Third place tonight moves them all the way up into 8th. Of course, these standings are provisional. There are probably going to be stewards' inquiries going on, judging by what I've seen in the driver's lounge. Pusix finishing in 4th. Matty taking home 5th there after their penalties. Krusix would have been in 2nd had their penalty not applied, but unfortunately 3 seconds just cutting those corners a little bit too much. Maestro Hoffy, who we heard from earlier, who we've heard from previously, trying to take it with a one-stop strategy, ended up going for the 2-stop, and it may have cost them more than they realised. Coming 9th tonight after 3 seconds of penalties, and dropping down to 5th. Big story of the night, outside of the championship win, is Kev Genetics finishing up that 1-2-3 first win, I believe, in Tier 1 for them ever. Moves up 3 places and is within touching distance of 3rd place in the standings overall. Speaking of which, Lucas didn't appear tonight. Then we have F1 Racer, who finished in 6th after what it seems like being forced to go across the grass in the hairpin and taking a penalty because of that, dropping all the way down into 6th in tonight's race. And then, of course, 2nd place finisher, no penalties to their name, fastest lap, Jan Failer takes the championship with a 29-point lead as it stands. Again, there is an asterisk next to this. If F1 Racer were to get their penalty removed, they would move up into 4th, which would still make 7 points. However, there may also be penalties applied to R8. We will wait to see what the stewards have to say about that. If that is the case, F1 Racer is still in the running, but they are going to need an almost perfect weekend in order to contend for the championship, and Failer needs not to finish. That is the situation going into our final race, and what a race it's going to be. It's Interlagos over in Brazil. We'll be back next week with our usual coverage. It's been an absolutely amazing season, and we're going to round it off in style. Still plenty of action to happen. There is a battle for 3rd going on that will be decided at Brazil. Depending on what happens at the steward's office, there may well still be a battle for the championship. So tune in next week, 8 PM UK time, for our coverage of the finale of Season 23. Before we head off, a big thank you to SimSok and Driver61 for sponsoring us tonight. SimSok, the only racing sock that I know of with rubber padding on the feet to help you grip those pedals a little bit better, and fine wool material that wicks away the sweat from your feet so you don't get grubby whilst in those intense moments in the corners. And then Driver61, Driver Academy, place to go for all your esports racing tuition needs. Head over to them, driver61.com. That's been it from me tonight. Thank you to our drivers. Thank you to you for watching. Thank you to everyone who makes this possible. That's all from us here tonight. We'll see you next week for the finale. A bientôt, and drive safe.